What would you do if someone you trusted slowly made your own home feel uncomfortable and you couldn't even explain why at first? There's something unsettling about realizing that a problem didn't start big. It started quietly. That's exactly what happened to Lila. It was just before Christmas when her husband told her his cousin needed a place to stay. She had recently left her family in the province, her husband and kids, and came to the city to process her papers as an overseas worker. Just temporary, he said. And honestly, at first, it felt like the right thing to do. When Anne arrived, she was everything you'd expect from a grateful guest. She was warm, friendly, easy to talk to. She shared stories, laughed often, and blended into their home like she belonged there. Lila even enjoyed having her around. But sometimes, discomfort doesn't arrive loudly. Sometimes, it just sits there, quietly, waiting for you to notice. It started with a simple observation. Every morning, right after Lila's husband left for work, Anne would pick up her phone and disappear into it. Not scrolling, not watching videos. She was talking to someone. At first, Lila didn't think much of it. Maybe it was family. Maybe her kids. That would make sense, right? But one day, Anne casually said something that changed everything. "Oh, that's my boyfriend," she said. Just like that. No hesitation, no guilt, no explanation, and just like that, something didn't feel right anymore. Because Anne wasn't single. Her husband was back in the province, her children too. Lila didn't react right away. She just listened. Anne explained it like it was nothing unusual. She said it was just an online relationship, that it didn't mean anything serious. "There's nothing wrong with it," she insisted. But Lila couldn't shake the question forming in her mind, if it meant nothing. Why did it feel like something? Anne didn't stop there. She went further, almost like she needed Lila to agree. "Most overseas workers do this," she said. "It helps with homesickness." That explanation lingered longer than it should have, because Lila kept thinking, if you miss your family, wouldn't you call them instead? Why look for comfort somewhere else? But Lila stayed quiet. Because sometimes, silence feels safer than confrontation. Days passed, then weeks, and what started as something small slowly became impossible to ignore. Anne wasn't just talking to this man occasionally. It became her entire routine. From morning until night, she was on video calls, laughing, whispering, smiling at her screen like the rest of the world didn't exist. The only time she stopped was when Lila's husband came home, and then, late at night, when the house was quiet again, it would start all over. It felt deliberate, calculated even. And as time passed, something else began to change. Anne stopped helping around the house. At first, she would clean up after herself, offer small help here and there. But slowly, that disappeared. Dishes would be left behind, wrappers on the table, cups in the wrong places, and Lila found herself picking up after someone who wasn't even contributing. All while Anne stayed in their home for free, still waiting, still processing papers, but strangely, not worried at all. That was another thing that didn't sit right. Months had passed. Nothing was moving with her application. But Anne didn't seem bothered. Her focus was always the same: her phone, her calls, her boyfriend. And then something happened that made Lila realize this wasn't just about discomfort anymore. It was something else, something deeper. One night, before going to bed, Lila noticed Anne's phone on the couch plugged in and charging. But it wasn't just sitting there. It was covered, buried under a pillow and a blanket. Lila paused. Something about it didn't feel safe. She reached over and moved the fabric, and immediately felt the heat. The phone was warm, too warm. For a moment, her heart raced. All she could think about was how easily something small could turn into something dangerous. A fire, an accident. something that could affect everyone in the house. While Anne slept peacefully, completely unaware, Lila unplugged it herself, no hesitation. The next morning, she tried to bring it up gently, just a simple reminder, just concern. But Anne? She laughed. "It's fine," she said. "I always do that. Always." That word stayed with Lila, because suddenly, it didn't feel like she was overthinking anymore. It felt like she was ignoring something important. And that's when the real conflict began, not with Anne, but within herself, because now every little thing felt heavier. The constant video calls, the lack of responsibility, the blurred lines between right and wrong, and the growing feeling that this wasn't her home anymore, not in the way it used to be. But what made it harder? Her husband. This was his cousin. If she spoke up, would he understand? Or would he think she was overreacting, judgmental, unkind? So Lila stayed silent, but silence has a cost, and hers was starting to feel like resentment, the kind that builds slowly, until you don't recognize yourself anymore. She didn't like how she felt, watching, thinking, questioning everything, even doubting her own values. Was she being too strict? Or was she just finally seeing things clearly? Because deep down, one question kept repeating in her mind. When does kindness become tolerance for something you don't believe in? And when does silence become the real problem? So now, here's the question. If you were in Lila's place, would you speak up? Or would you stay quiet and hope things change on their own?